Hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here. It is Basketball Rewind, and we are here for a draft episode. I don't know when this is going to come out, so whenever it comes out, I hope you enjoy. Of course, we are going to be covering probably a lot more because there's going to be a lot of time to think about it. We have a lot of picks, so we're going to, not just cover I think we covered like 10 or 12 guys last year. Well, we cover quite a lot. We'll probably cover, I don't know, a lot more, because who knows what happens.
The one guy we didn't cover is right now starting to be like a little tear there in Houston.
That is true. That is true. What I will say going into this is something that's really important, which is pick odds, the most fun topic that no one wants to talk about. Mathematically speaking, the Raptors have the best chance of not catching fifth best odds. They will at best be the sixth best team. Now, regardless of what happens with the Raptors, I do not think that they are trying to purposefully tank. I think that they're just bad. Okay, just like I
Okay,
really think
all
that
right.
they want to win. We saw that. We saw that today.
We got to push on that a little bit, man. Come
Come
on.
on, we saw that. I'm not saying Darko. I'm saying the
Okay.
players.
No, yeah, the players are playing hard, but the front office, I ain't let that
Oh
slide.
yeah, no, I agree
Yeah.
with that. No,
Okay.
I'm saying that the players,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
it's like the little engine that could but couldn't.
Right. The front office trying to do everything they can now to kind of say, "Hey, we in tankathon mode." Because
Yeah.
you telling me if they were actually in consideration for playing seriously, that one of these guys, Barrett or Quickly, could not play if they really had to.
Currently, if you are the sixth best, if you are top six, it is a 55% chance of moving, basically of losing your pick. And there's a 45% chance of maintaining your pick. And within that 45% chance, there is only, there's actually a 37% chance of moving into the top four. So basically a 1/3 chance moving into top four, 9% chance staying where you are, and there's much larger chance of moving back.
Hey man, they're riding that streak out, boy. It's their
Right
last
on the
run in
line.
Vegas, man. They're doing it. They're going all in, man.
Well, and this is the thing. People are like, well, we're going to lose and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, we are. However, it's like you need to out lose other teams. And it's
Yeah.
like you need to out lose Portland, who they are not afraid to like legitimately outright tank.
Well, we saw the magnificent job they did last year. And
That's
people
why I'm saying like they're not
Portland,
going.
but that was still in the play.
If people think that Robert Williams is somehow going to be cleared by the end, it's like,
right.
nope.
And we know Brogdon. It don't take much for Brogdon to pretty much slip on something in this case and be out for a while. All right. And Brogdon,
Aiton couldn't make it to the arena because of ice. Okay. The man is rich enough to afford a truck. Okay. Or snow removal at this point, or salt. Okay. All of the above. So
they have the right. Let's put it this way: they have the right type of players to pull that off very quickly. Let's put it that way.
very, very politically correct way to say it. So yes, have fun in Portland, all that kind of stuff. We're not catching Portland. So best case scenario, six best odds. So with that being said, let's just jump right into it. We're talking about Reed Sheppard today, who is a Kentucky guard. We will talk about others as well, other Kentucky guards, because they have a lot of guards in this draft and a lot of players. But today we're talking about Reed Sheppard. So I'm going to just give a little bit of information about Reed Sheppard, and we'll just jump right into it. Number one, he is the son of Jeff Sheppard. Jeff Sheppard played in the NBA for, I believe, may have only been one season or whatever. What's interesting, some trivia, is he was on a preseason team in 2000. What preseason team was Jeff Sheppard on? He quit, by the way, after that.
Raptors.
Sorry?
Raptors.
Yep. Yeah, he was on our preseason team, and he quit. It was the year 2000, and I think he quit professional basketball as a result of 9/11. Per him, because it was emotionally stressful. He wanted to spend more time with his family. So fair enough. His mother also played for college. They are Kentucky through and through. I'll say that. His mother was good in Kentucky. His dad was good in Kentucky. They're Kentucky through and through. They're cornbread, whatever the heck they do out there in Kentucky people. Okay.
That bourbon, boy.
Yeah, exactly. So, he came out of high school as a 4-star recruit. ranked top 50.
This is Reed, right?
This is yeah.
Just make sure people realize.
Yes, yes, this was Reed. He was a McDonald's All American, of course, and he was Mr. Kentucky basketball. So he came in as a fairly solid player, and in this year, he's been ripping it up, and he's been moving up the draft boards at times. Most recently, above his, I guess teammate, classmate Rob Dillingham. He is 6'3". I don't know the wingspan, so I'm not going to say the wingspans of anyone until the combine occurs.
Wingspan later on, folks, man. I know that's what you're waiting for, man.
That's what people wait for. That's
That's what
that's
they
what
come
people
for
come
there,
for.
man.
Um, so before I go into anything else, is there anything you want to talk about him, or if not, we're just going to jump right into the offense.
Oh, man, jump right into it, man.
Okay, so let's talk about the offense. So he is a 6'3" combo guard. And so just jumping into his offense, the first skill that's going to jump to most people, so we'll keep it simple, stupid, is obviously going to be the shooting. There was at times this year, I will pull it up as I talk, but there were times this year that he actually shot 70%. I actually know his splits before I look it up, which is current splits as of the filming of this, and so it might change in the future, is 54, 55, 81. He can shoot, folks, and he's not just shooting catch and shoot threes. He's shooting pull up, coming off curls. A lot of it is pull up threes, actually. Funny enough, so from that standpoint, he can definitely shoot. He can definitely put points in the basket, and I think he can shoot. That's really what I'm saying. But not only that, he has a really, really fast release. It's one of the first things that I noticed. He made good use of screens. He also not only shot from three, but he was able to use the screens to get into the mid range. That's something that I really liked about his game, and it's something that I looked at. So when you look at a guy like, say, Gary Trent, Gary Trent has craft. I think Reed has a little bit more craft, but Reed, in terms of how he gets into spots, has more lateral quickness. So how he's getting into spots, he's more likely to get into the mid-range spots because of how he's using screens and because he has a little bit more speed in terms of the lateral movement. So for that reason, I think it's like expect someone like almost like a Gary Trent in terms of getting two mid-rangers, but a lot better from that. I'm not comparing him to Gary Trent, by the way. Solid processing of the game in terms of the speed. So I think he thinks, he doesn't stop the ball. He's not a ball stopper, and he doesn't stop to think. You get some guys they'll take the ball and they'll stop and then they'll go. I think you've seen this a little bit with some of his teammates. I think Justin Edwards, although part of it is I think he's left-handed player, struggle going to the right. With Reed, it's like moves the ball really quickly. Really good in terms of his playmaking in transition. I know I'm going fast through this, but I'm trying to make these episodes quick, people. So in transition, he's able to spot the right read, make the right pass, and a lot of his playmaking was done in transition, which to me shows that like he might struggle a little bit in the half court. And one of the things I noticed that he picks his ball up a little bit early sometimes. But in transition, you want guys to push the pace. He's not pushing it quite like Maxey, but it's also not like Fred VanVleet. So I'm almost done. Sorry, this is a little longer. If you compare his passing rate, it's actually matched by Cason Wallace from last year. So Kentucky guard that I was really fond of. So on 17% usage, he's doing 23% of the time he's passing the ball. So high productive, low usage player. Good body control in the air. Could use a little bit more size, but yeah. Your thoughts on Reed Sheppard?
Well, offensively, I mean, like the form is like just beautiful. Like, like the form doesn't change. It doesn't matter if he's standing still, if he's coming off a pick or a curl, he's pulling up for the mid range or pulling up for like 35 feet. It's the same all the time. 6'3" is decent enough height. I know I've heard some people say about considered to be small. I think 6'3" is right at the level where it's like, okay, if it's anything short in that, then I'm getting concerned. 6'2", 6'1", 6 feet. Six
He's young
three
enough that he might grow as well
and
to
six
like
three is
six
like
four.
the flush level where I'm okay with 6'3", especially if you're playing the point guard spot. That's not bad. He can pass. His passing and his playmaking is pretty good too. So he's not just like a guy, just a shooter in this case. He can do a little bit more than that. He could get a little something off the bounce too. A pretty decent athlete overall. He'll fill into his body a bit, 6'3", so I'm not too concerned about that.
I have to say I was impressed by just overall, like he has a bit more game than I thought. Because
Oh yeah,
someone was like, oh, like I like Duncan Robinson, you should look into Reed Sheppard. I was like, ugh.
no.
And then I was like, what,
Yeah,
nothing I like. You know what I mean? Like,
we know this time of year, man. The comps get reductive. I'll just put it that way, man. It's
yes.
that way, right?
Yes.
The comps get reductive. I think like in some ways he's got a game similar to not this person doesn't have the same range, but his game reminds me a bit of this. There's a lot of Richard Hamilton in a lot of ways. But he doesn't, if Richard Hamilton
I
was
I thought about that because the way he moves, not necessarily off ball, but when he's on the ball into
the ball,
spaces.
yeah, like if Richard Hamilton was a model of today, he probably would have had a 3-point shot out there too, right? But back in 2000 or something like that, you're not really worried about the three as much even then.
No.
But all the stuff off the work, off the move, and the curls and stuff like that, and the pull ups to the mid range. Like I think a lot of times people think a Rip is just a guy coming off of curls because of Detroit and the Pistons. But you can look at if you got Rip from Hamilton from Connecticut days. No, Rip get his own shot.
In terms of like a movement, would you compare him a little bit to Jordan Hawkins? A little bit?
I think there is some of that.
Yeah.
Funny enough, also, I mean, the ideal, the highest level. I ain't want to go there too much, but I'm just saying, especially when we talk about UConn players, I'm just saying, that is like that's like the Mount Rushmore. I'm just saying, the form is like that. Let's put it that way. I'll leave it that, and the movement from the off the bounce is a lot like that. He ain't him, but he's got, there's elements of him there. I dare not mention his name when it comes to that with shooting. There's certain names you just don't mention, when it comes to that type of thing. Yeah, there's certain names you just don't mention. But if you know your college history, you know who I'm talking about when I say so. When you talk about UConn, right? There is a little of that in this case. A little shorter, but there's some of that. I mean, I listened to guys with no ceilings and props out those fellas, but they brought up another guy who I could see this, and this actually isn't reductive. To be fair, it come off reductive, but I see what they're talking about, and that's Mark Price. I watch Mark Price, and I do see a lot of Mark Price in it. As much as Mark Price can get his own shot easily. Mark Price was a wizard in the pick and roll. Like
So
he's a guy lost in history a little bit, but boy, Mark Price was, he was cold.
okay, I gotta ask between. Now I'm not for Reed Sheppard. This is just kind of an aside. Between the guy from UConn and a certain guy with the last name Miller, who was a better off-ball mover in your opinion? Because it was still very new at the time to do that. I think Miller was, in my opinion, he was really the guy, and it was undervalued at the time. But yeah,
I think I would say I give a slight edge to Reggie,
yeah,
only because Reggie required it more. Later in his career,
yeah. He didn't really have like anyone else really creating. He was the creator, ironic, and it was really new at the time.
Yeah, because later in his career, he was able to get stuff on his own a bit more. But early in his career, I mean, yeah, to be fair, he could still even then, because I mean, like those, if people forget, underrated series, man. Go back, watch Boston, Indiana, man, first round. I mean, yeah, the rifleman. The rifleman nowadays is a different situation. But boy, he can shoot. Okay, you talk about the Pacers always kind of had a history like this. The Pacers always had a history of like people kind of think of the Pacers as like grind out Davis brothers, but there's another era of Indiana basketball where
Yes.
they were like how they are today. They just shoot on caution, didn't give a damn. Like that team was a fun team to watch with Chuck Person and Reggie Miller, those boys. Like they were just gunning at Bird, man. And Bird ain't running for nobody.
No.
Like, Bird's like in the saloon, or you want some of this? All right, man, so be it. That series of fun. When you want to watch a fun series, look for that one on YouTube, man. But yeah, but even then, like Reggie was working off his screens a lot more then than later in his career. But yeah, I think he needed more. Ray could always get his own shot if he had to. That's the thing. People think of Ray as what he is now. No, yeah. Boy, you get the Ray Milwaukee, even Ray Seattle. Nah, boy, he and Kobe be going at and keep.
I don't really remember Ray Milwaukee. I remember Ray Seattle.
Ray Milwaukee, man, and Ray in Seattle, especially like Kobe and him used to have a blood feud going on. And you get them Seattle LA games, Man, that's must watch TV at 10 o'clock at night, especially
Yes.
out there in the arena. You're a West Coast guy. You know what you're talking about. It's like, Kobe used to have a, I don't know what his hate was with Ray Allen, and Ray Allen didn't care for him either, man. But
It's
boy,
interesting how those things develop too.
I don't know what it was. It was an Olympic thing. I don't know. But my gosh, I just know Ray Allen used to be putting up stuff on everybody. He didn't care, man. Ray Allen used to, and he'll dunk on man too. People don't realize that.
Yeah.
Like some old Ray Allen clips, man. If you catch a step on you, watch out. so, so I would definitely say Reggie. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I agree. But I also have to go back and watch him on Milwaukee. By the way, I do, again, one other small side is that I encourage people to do the same. It is fun to sometimes go back and watch old games. You don't have to watch a whole season, but you know they do have a few old games or even clips of old games. It's interesting to see how both the game has evolved and so on and so forth. So
But one thing I just say, I think what it also does, and the Ray Allen's a perfect example of this,
mm,
it gets away from myth versus what actually happened, right? Because I think, for example,
yes,
everyone thinks Ray Allen's, oh, he's just a guy come around curls for 3-point shots. That's what they think when they think Ray
yeah,
Allen. Go back and watch Boys and Girls. It's a little
yeah.
different what it was, right?
Yes.
That's Ray
Even
Allen.
Miller, like Miller was an off-ball mover, but he also did stuff with the ball as well.
Oh,
And then
exactly. Yeah.
so, okay, Reed Sheppard back.
Yes.
Defense.
Present day. Defense. Yes, this is where things get interesting. I wanted to get your thoughts because I couldn't find really enough material about him defensively. And I do have concerns because of his size at 6'3".
Yeah.
Can he play both positions defensively? And right now, it looks like he's really going guard point guards.
He's 185. I think if he bulks up to 210,
Agree.
I think he might get
Yeah,
there. And he has the size to do it, but like
yeah, but I
ideally
don't know.
not.
Yeah, I mean, he ain't
I want to
like
get like 195 might even be good for
Drew
him.
Holiday playing two guards. Like, he ain't gonna be doing that anytime soon. Like that's
Yeah.
yeah. And that part. I know folks think defense doesn't matter in the NBA anymore. I get it. The premium. I agree with that to some extent. Is like you'll take the better offensive player than the guy that has some warts defensively. I get that completely, but it does matter when you start getting into May and June. It does matter because if you don't have enough guys that actually get be two-way guys to be on the court for a rotation of playoff series, it don't matter what he does in the regular season. If that guy pretty much can just be play off the court, all that 3-point shooting is dead then at that point, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, I
And at
just think
some point, it's you if you have good point of attack and you have good rim protection, what's left?
right, exactly, right, and that's where you see all the time. I think
And then can you do that at a rate that is above average?
right.
Because if you
So the guy,
can, then you can put above average half court offense, and then
there
you're
you go. So the guy I'm looking at maybe in some ways, and it might be a strange comp in some
Mhm.
ways, but I'll take a guy who used to be playing for my team in this case. Now plays for the Knickerbockers. Brunson, right? Who's
Okay.
about the same height in this case here. Obviously doesn't shoot it quite like him, but shoots it pretty well in this case.
I think Brunson's only 6'1" though.
Yeah, Brunson 6'1", 6'2", right? And this kid's 6'3" right now. So like to
Yeah.
me, Brunson was not known as a defensive stalwart, in this case here. He can hustle and he'll defend, but he was even in Dallas at times we had issues with him defensively and stuff like that. I mean, people forget Brunson's first year, he was coming back from injury a little bit, but like it wasn't pretty the first year in the playoffs for Brunson. It was rough at first, and he figured his way through it. But I think this guy's gonna be all right. I think he's gonna be decent enough that he won't be played off the floor, and he's a good enough athlete. That's the most important part. I think he'll be okay.
So yeah, I mean, I actually think he's been a pretty good defender thus far. Now obviously it's always at college, and the reason why I say he needs to gain weight is because at the NBA level, you could just get like out muscled by dudes easily. You see it all the time. And just the speed of the game is different. So from the offensive side, we already talked about it. The shot's beautiful. The shot, like, don't change it. Come into the league. He already has the mechanics there and the speed of the release. Just do your thing, young man. He, it's interesting. Like he's a little bit upright. He's a little bit stiff at times, but yet he's effective. And I saw him be a really good pass interceptor. That's one of the things that I noticed. Almost like when DeRozan was good at, gambling on passes. I think he knows how to break up plays in transition, and that was really interesting to see. So from that standpoint, I think he gets a lot of the stocks or the steals and blocks and stuff like that from there. I also think he's smart at when to crowd ball handlers, and he absorbs contact better than I thought he would at this level. So I have to give him some credit there that so far he shows some upside as a POA defender in spurts.
Actually, the more we keep talking about him, and I think it's something the no ceilings guy said as well. The
Mm,
guy about him, and let me ask you this: going back to the offensive side quickly. Or actually, which is what I'm about to get to. And, they mentioned he's not the best finisher around the hoop at the
I
moment,
did
and
notice that.
he tends, that he can use a floater in his game a bit. Now, what I find interesting is I mentioned the name maybe just by accident, but he has a little bit of quickly in him in this case, from a standpoint how his game is. If you watch his game, really, you think about it, you know,
So there's
shooting the pull-up
yeah,
threes, not the great finisher in this case here, but the same height.
his
Quick,
his teammate his teammate if you watch his we'll get to his teammate eventually, and maybe in the next time we do this it'll be good to you'll see them back to back, but his teammate offers a very good I think it's juxtaposition to him, where it's like his teammate, I'm not
right.
saying his teammate is Keontae George, but it's like it's closer to that kind of a style where his teammate will just go into guys and just be relentless at driving and like the difference between like Reed will be able to create an advantage through the pick and roll. His teammate will use the pick and roll, but then use an extra speed to get a secondary advantage.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't think it's quite there yet. And I think for that reason, his finishing isn't quite there yet. The problem is that Rob Dillingham, so far, I think Rob Dillingham is actually 6'2".
Right. Yes, I think he's a little shorter. Again,
So, I
I
mean, if you get either of those guards, I think you're happy long term because I think in terms of us, while they're not my top choices, given every single person in the draft thus far, if I could pick anyone or if I was doing a big board, they'd be lower down. But I mean, they might be one might be in our range, and it being a flat draft means you might be able to trade to get into even the top 10 a lot more
some people
easily than
talk
people think.
I'm hearing people talk about Sheppard in top 10. And I'm like, okay, I mean, at one point, just at the beginning of the season, people were talking about him being mid to late first round pick.
Yep.
And then we're looking at top 10 pick. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Um, and that's not even getting to the big dance yet. So who knows where his stock might be if he plays well at the big dance. So,
Hmm.
so it's just interesting to watch that. And that I'm not saying that some of the picks we have is definitely best player available, but there is a possibility of some duplication coming with some of these picks, and he has some duplicative skill sets to at least one player on this team.
Yes. Now that might not be the worst thing because I think he plays well enough that he could play with that player. I think, and that's the question: is can he play?
Play both on and off the ball.
Yeah, can he play on the ball, off the ball, and can he play with Grady? Because you assume that more than likely Grady will get his minutes, but Grady might be on the second
Well,
unit next
he's
year.
one player, but I was also thinking quickly to some extent.
Quickly as well, yeah,
I think the two of them, he's almost a bit of a blend of the two of them, kind of.
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
It now the real question is that can the defense be but again if they're both combo guard size, it's not ideal, but it's not like you're playing.
Worse.
It's not like you're playing like Garland and Mitchell.
That's why 6'3" is like my threshold. Like, is he's right,
Yeah,
right,
you need
right
two guys at 6'3", or else
at
it's
worst. Yeah.
yeah. Um, there's a deal that I've thought of, but I'll talk to you about it offline.
Deals. There we go.
You know, but anyway, so yeah, I think that's yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking. He can really this, like I said, the strength is kind of a little bit of an issue at the next size. I'm just again going through my notes. So I talked about sometimes he has a habit of picking it out, picking up the ball, but that can be coached. That's easy. It's more of a habitual teaching of something. I think he's a decent pick, and I think he would be good for the Raptors. And we'll
Yeah,
see
yeah.
as we
I
go along with all of these things.
that
Yeah.
the shooting just supersedes so many other things that is like, you know what, like that, to your point, the word we all use, the buzzword these days, it translates immediately. Right. So like, and the other thing is the pick and roll offense,
He
which
does three things really well.
right, right.
on offense, and at least yeah, well, actually, say he does three things really well, and including he can be at least a smart defender at the next level, and like potentially be okay at the next level. You know, he's not holding down no defense, but like, you know, he can hold his own.
Right. One last question I have for you is more of an overall question,
Mm.
overarching question about the Kentucky
Crew.
draft. Yeah. I
There's
mean,
like
right
four
now,
players that could
four of them,
go
right?
in the
And
first round.
yeah, I couldn't remember who the fourth one off the top of my head, but there's four of them.
DJ Wagner or Justin
Yeah,
Edwards.
no. Well, actually, maybe because you had isn't the Davenport kid also considered?
I think so. Yeah.
So there
Jeez.
might be five of them, right? Hasn't been a team like this since the Anthony Davis team, where essentially
Yeah.
everyone was coming up. So the question I'm wondering is, do some people cannibalize the other guys on this team? Right now, I'm trying to go back to that Anthony Davis draft with all those Kentucky guys, and how many of them actually hurt one another's stock or not.
Well, it's interesting. Like in a way, like Reed Sheppard is a good example where it's like because he's playing with sharing the court with Wagner and also Rob Dillingham. His usage is down, so it's like, are you seeing his full set of playmaking and like ball handling and stuff like that? Probably not. Right.
Mm.
So, and this gets to the question is like, obviously I don't have access to private workouts at some point, you know, but like that's what you're looking for at the combine, assuming that he is in the combine. You know, some guys don't and they stick with it, but then and they do just fine. But, you know, once you get to the combine and you see some of those things, you can kind of, especially if they play,
Mm.
you'll see some stuff that's very interesting. And also as you get further along, because like you never know, maybe there's some injury, knock on wood for all these guys, and then he, you know, gets bumped up, kind of like to a downside for one and an upside for the other is Nick Smith Jr., Anthony Black, right? Perfect example. So, you know, you see how these things play out, but I don't think that they're all being used to their fullest potential, which is interesting when you're looking and trying to assess them. So yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. So, anyways, folks, that's all. There's another episode in the can. I'm going to enjoy a little bit of time just hanging out with Beyond. So peace. Like, comment, subscribe when this comes out. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. All right. Well, take care all. Peace.